whatchamacallit, I didn't realize A, that it was going to take this long, or B, that she was going to be in the shape that she is. Hello.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Is it too loud?
No, you're good. Well, do you want to postpone it so you can take care of things there, or?
We might be able to play it by ear. She's right here.
Okay.
So if she needs my help, I may have to like go and check on her a few times while this is going on. But yeah,
Okay.
gonna try, and if it's not working, then we can shut her down.
Okay.
But hello. Hello. I set up the stream correctly today.
Nice.
By the way, hello everyone. Synth Chris, very pro sir, and Restream. Hello. Let's change that to. Oh, what am I doing? I want to change that to this. Bandless. How's Steven doing?
Well,
it looks like I am also gear stuffing things.
Yeah, I tried to change that on my end, but it didn't work. So maybe you.
Yeah. The Bunn. Great.
There we go.
Cool. So yeah, I obviously I'm doing this at my home, not at the studio. So hello everybody, and yeah, I have to take care of the babe. She just had a procedure, and it's a little bit different than we were expecting, and so I'm gonna have to provide a little bit of care, be healthcare Bunn the healthcare expert.
Well, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah. How is Steven today?
I'm well.
Good.
At home for a while.
In London.
Yeah.
Awesome. Seeing the chickie, seeing the wife.
Yeah. Quarantine ends tomorrow, so that I can, I think, be free. But technically, I should be free anyhow. I'm fully vaccinated, but
Yeah. They're sticking to protocol.
Yep.
Can't fault them. I'd
No.
rather, when it comes to that stuff, I'd rather that than just a free for all. So.
for sure. Yeah, I get it. I'm not a complainer in regards to that. Like,
Yeah.
better safe than sorry.
Yeah, but we got a few of the crew with us here today. Today we are talking about we talk a lot about goals and kind of making plans and all that kind of stuff. But something that has been really big for me this year, 2021, was thinking that I knew what I was going for, what my purpose was, what my goals were. And then kind of as the year goes on, realizing that I have no idea what I'm shooting for or what I'm doing. And it's all kind of like, I'm just really busy, you know, and maybe that's the busy trap. I'm sure we've all been there. And the thing to wake me up was very recently, and over the past few weeks, there's been a documentary series that was released and about skateboarding in Northern Ontario. And I am a huge part of it, huge part of the documentary. And yeah, I wasn't like, it's just all archival stuff and people talk a lot about me. And it really took me back to a different place, a different frame of mind, and all of these sorts of things I wasn't expecting. And kind of brought about this sense of clarity in terms of what is actually, you know, what my values are and all that kind of stuff, or at least so I think. Nice. So that's kind of the genesis of today's topic, is thinking we know where we're going, only to find out that we're not, and what that means, and maybe to listen to your gut in a lot of ways. All that kind of stuff. Have you ever had this sort of thing with a particular project, or with a just overall sort of creative path, or anything like that? I'm sure all of us have had these sorts of things.
Yeah, I've had times where there's been pretty lengthy lulls in between productivity with my full band,
Right.
where I've taken on other creative endeavors, whether it's solo music or whatever, or physical artwork and stuff. And then by about the time that I see no light at the end of the tunnel of the band thing happening, I've kind of invested myself in something else, and then it just seems like a carrot will get dangled that pulls me in a different direction.
Yeah, the carrots. That's a big part. Yeah.
So, there's always some version of it. Anytime that I really feel like I'm at a place where I'm kind of getting something done and the other thing is not relative to me, there's always something that ends up pulling me back in the other way.
Yeah.
Every time, without fail.
Same. And in the show notes today, or the sort of description, the video description, I included a saying that I like a great deal, that I refer to a lot, but for some reason I haven't really been listening to it, which is the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. Yeah. And it sounds crazy, but if you dig into it a little bit, you're like, oh, wow. It's actually pretty big idea, but it's very pointed. And the main thing is keeping the main thing, because a lot of times we get sidetracked with things that feel like they're related to the main thing, and they're not. And then, like you say, you go off on this tangent, doing artwork you're like, suddenly I'm a graphic designer doing all these artwork for all these bands. And you're like, oh, I only was interested in graphic design to do things for my own releases, which I'm not going to get a release out this year because I've been busy the whole year or last 5 years doing graphic design for 10 other bands. Oh, give me a second. All right.
So, okay. Bunn is off aiding his lady friend. I'll just continue the chat about other creative things being distracting from the thing you're trying to tackle. I've had a couple instances where I've joined other projects because they seem like they're moving in a more fluid direction, and then neglecting my own thing, and then the thing that I dedicated my time to and jumped on board because I thought there was more potential in it usually fizzles out, or there's somebody with a big idea but no means to follow up said big idea, and then I end up right back where I was to begin with, and I could have invested all of that time in my own project. So yeah, that's a thing that happens.
You're the best, Mookie. You're the best.
It's a rare sweet talking Bunn.
Sorry.
It's all good. We're getting a nice.
Well, I guess I'm not sorry. It's like this is what it's going to be today, and it's going to be fun.
We're getting a nice glimpse into what it's like to be with you.
And actually, nobody really. It's very, very rare that anybody sees this part of my life. And 13 Flies says, I've found with work ramping up at the moment, the guitar has been collecting more dust than I'd like to admit. Yeah, and I think that's going to be the case for a lot of folks as the world is restarting. There's going to be this little bit of a priority for daytime job stuff, and which can be distracting in terms of our creative endeavors. Which has forever been, that's not a new thing. And they're asking about the Cracks in the Road documentary. What is the doco? So I'm going to share the link to the first one.
For sure.
If anybody's interested. And my actual full real name is Scott Sokolowski. So anytime you see Scott Sokolowski, they're talking about me. Cool. But anyhow, that's in the link to that is in the comments there. But Yeah, the sidebar, taking the sidebar that feels like it's connected. I think that's the trick to, you know, or not the trick, but the sneak attack is that there's these things, using the graphic design example as the example. That's a good one, because it feels like it's sort of in line with what you're doing until it isn't. It's great if you do it once or twice or every now and again, but when it suddenly becomes the priority, or even things like collabs are great. But if suddenly your whole thing is just like, all I do is collabs, it's kind of weird. Do you guys know Steve Tarenberry? I'm sure you do. He's a popular guitar YouTuber. Stevie T.
Oh,
he goes
yeah,
by.
for sure.
He lives here in Canada as well. He lives in Niagara Falls. But he kind of got into a situation where he made a name for himself on YouTube as a guitar player, but as a comedic guitar player who happened to also be really technically proficient, very, very accomplished musician. Mm-hmm. However, the comedy is kind of why people subscribed and why they kept coming back. And the sort of conflict for him as the channel grew and it became his primary, that's his revenue, that's his whole life.
Yeah.
Is that he had professional aspirations in music and the chops to get him there. However, nobody was really all that interested in his serious music on YouTube. So he had to keep parlaying his music into this sort of comedy type of thing. So the main thing, even though the main thing was music and he was doing the music thing, he was kind of, damn it, like, I just want to make a serious prog record or whatever it is he wanted to do. And that just wasn't flying. People wanted to listen to Chicken Gent or whatever the thing was. So that's a really sneaky sort of example of kind of losing sight of the main thing for this thing, the shiny thing on the side of the road for a moment, and then the shiny thing just taking over completely. And I would say that in a lot of ways, kind of YouTube is that for me at the moment, which is interesting. Although all is not lost. It's more like how I've been approaching YouTube, more so than YouTube itself being a problem. But have you anything currently that is something like this, or do you have it straight and narrow? You got it all sorted out?
No. I think YouTube honestly can be distracting from me creating music sometimes, to enough to I have genuine like existential battles about whether I should be making videos for YouTube or taking that time to make my own material. I've found a way to rationalize it in that, like, I have a band and I'm doing things as part of a collaborative effort there, and that effort is still me creating things, but then I take, once we get to a certain stage like I am now, guitars are tracked for the recording we're working on, drums are tracked, so now it's just bass and vocals that remain. My focus has to be narrowed now to where, yeah, I could sit down and play guitar and probably write more material, which I still probably will do, but not as dedicated. But what I should be dedicating my time to more so at this stage is lyrical content and vocal production versus, like, now I need to make another video that's going to last 15 minutes, but it's going to take me 8 to 16 hours to complete. And that's 8 to 16 hours I could have been investing, in, working on music stuff. So I don't know. I'm trying to get better at batching stuff. Like the last 2 videos I did on the drum stuff, I did at the same time, and I just cut them up into 2 parts. That seems to be working, but I don't know. I think maybe you can speak to this. I feel like I set a goal for myself with YouTube that is sometimes hard to maintain, and that I want to try to put out at least one thing a week. Mm-hmm. which is why I end up doing the videos where I'm just talking sometimes, because I really don't. The thing I want to do is a little too grandiose for the setting I'm in, or it's going to take days of me accumulating the things to make the video. So I can just kind of sit and talk for 30 minutes or do a live stream once a week, and I'm kind of balancing it out in my mind. I don't know. How does that work on your end?
It's very similar. And that one video a week kind of pressure is an interesting one. I feel like a lot of people feel it because we know that the metric works, and also in terms of just making YouTube work. But, you know, there's a few creators that I follow, and there's this one guy, Joey. He's from West Coast. He has a show called, or a channel called Better Ideas. And he does like sometimes one a month, and they're pretty like well researched, pretty cinematically delivered pieces. He's not a cinematographer, but he's interested in cinematography. Very similar to myself. I'm not a cinematographer, but my whole interest in getting into video to begin with was cinematography, and I want to make music videos that are, you know, badass and all that kind of stuff. And but I haven't made a music video. I actually made music videos before I started YouTube. I haven't made one since. And I feel like, you know, if there's any time to make one, it would be now. Yeah, we get caught up in that thing of doing that, you know, that one video a week thing, and maybe we don't have to do that. I think I'm interested in the idea of experimenting with different kinds of creative ideas that do allow us to do that. I'm like, well, maybe the way I'm going about videos is not conducive to one a week, and what is conducive to one a week that isn't gonna bankrupt me creatively or bankrupt me in terms of time or anything like that. And that's something to get good with. I find a lot of creative people, I'm curious what your position on this is, but a lot of creative people are really stubborn. They're like, this is my idea, and this is what I'm doing. And sometimes it's because of ignorance. You're just not kind of like self-aware on that particular thing. Self-aware in every other area, but that particular area is kind of run away and like has total control of your focus and effort. I know that can be the case for me on occasion, and probably has been for the past couple of years. I'm like, I want to make these kinds of videos, except I never really end up being able to make the kind of videos I really want to make because they're too grandiose, and I always have to dumb it way down. Not dumb it down in terms of the information, but just like the kind of video I want to make.
Yeah, the production.
Is this the case for you? Are you stubborn in similar ways?
Yeah, I think most creative people have a tendency to kind of covet what's theirs as being non-malleable, if that makes sense. Like, I want my idea to be my idea and as close to that in presentation as possible.
Yeah.
And it's often when I try to make myself look past that stuff, or at least push through it, because usually it's to my detriment to put so much weight on a thing, because once I do that thing, whether I'm completely happy with it or not, once it's done and it's out there, all of that struggle and back and forth was kind of for nothing. And I'm on to the next thing to struggle with. So it's I don't know, man. It's definitely a delicate balance, but also as I get older, I find that it's not necessary at all. Like,
yeah,
no one externally knows what my thought process is or what it is I'm working on unless I let them into that. But I can spend 6 months working on a video and put it up tomorrow and say I filmed it yesterday. You know what I mean? Like,
technically, yeah.
So it's silly to get so locked into things. I don't know. I'm trying to put together a video on just compression as a topic, which we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Tough topic, because it's
so nuanced. It's such a simple idea, but once you actually get into breaking it down to like communicate it, there's time variables and all this stuff that really isn't easy to understand. And it's like, I want to do something that's dumbed down enough that anyone that watches it can get something out of it. But at the same time, I find myself like, as an audio engineer, like, well, maybe I need to talk about the knee more, or I need to talk about the ratios and like what those numbers actually mean. I would say ratio, like the timing aspect. So the attack and release, the ratio, and the threshold. Those are the 4 primary components of compression. And I suppose input, output. Right.
Sometimes input and output are tied to, or rather the other way around. Sometimes the timing is tied to the input and the output. Some compressor designs are that way, but I would break it down so that it was like just the most simplistic, broken apart compression thing. Oh, give me a second.
Okay, cool.
You can do some comments.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. Let's see here. Let's see. How to make music clip videos, or that's actually pretty true. There's a lot of strictly like how to make a pop song, how to do vocal production on a pop song, or how to EQ vocals for rap tracks or whatever. Yeah, you're correct. There's a lot of that. Yeah, it's compression's weird because there's a lot of variables, and then depending on what compressor you're using, especially with plugins, they all have different variables and how they function. Some have a particular tone and sound, whether you even have them in effect, but just have them in your signal chain. So I'm trying to like remove any of that excess stuff and just get right to the point.
Okay.
Let's see.
Some chicken fingers? Chicken strips? Chicken strips.
Important chicken topic. And Scott's back.
Apologies, cats.
It's all good.
Well, no apologies. I gotta stop with that. This is just what's going on. But yeah, I really empathize with your. Sorry, did I interject in the middle of an idea?
No, I kind of pulled up the comments. 13 Flaws had mentioned that a lot of production stuff is centered around pop and hip hop and production, as far as like how-tos. Yeah. Misha Mansour for like a minute started a channel called Top Secret Audio, and those videos have like, I think, millions of views. But he talked about tracking guitars and a couple different things. And I think he did one on drums and one on guitars. And they're very simple videos, but there's a lot of mileage to them in terms of a few of the simple things that he covered, because he covered a few things according to how he does it, which is kind of, I think, the secret sauce of any one thing. It's like, I know how to program drums. I know how to track guitars, but like, it's always interesting to kind of just see the slight sort of nuance around the corner of how this person does it. I've had that experience with your own videos. So there you go. Yeah, as I say, everybody has their own method. Prior to meeting you in person, you had a video on your doing kind of a full production. Maybe this was shortly after we met. I don't know, but there's a lot of videos. But there was a period of time where you were doing videos, and I think it was with DistroKid, where you were making a song, and then that got into a lot of stuff that ultimately probably could have been multiple videos. Yeah, but there was little nuancy stuff that was very particular to your process that I found very interesting in there.
Yeah, and I was always surprised, like early on, kind of doing those kinds of videos, or just talking about those kinds of things. Yeah, they're very. People are more curious about them than I imagined or than I thought. And I guess they're sort of helpful for the same reason that I like watching them. So
maybe you're going to find something that works for you that you didn't know worked for you, you know?
Yeah. What you mentioned about how that particular video, this is a good example of sort of the tying into the grander topic today. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, that video could have been like many smaller videos. And it really could. It could probably be like 10.
Yeah.
Or maybe even 12 separate videos. And that's something I have a bad habit of, and something I do with everything. Even releasing music, like, so using this example of my number one interest is releasing music, writing and releasing music, and writing music that I'm pretty stoked on writing, you know, creatively. I don't have to be creatively fulfilled completely, but I have to, you know, try and satisfy the muse, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Try and answer the curiosities. So I'm fine doing that. But seeing as that's my primary driving force, it doesn't actually matter if the released music is like completely done, because I'm just releasing singles, and my plan is to re-record and tweak again all of the material as a whole release once I have 10 or 12 tracks, and make it into an album. So there's lots of room to tend to the finer details or whatever. And especially if my interest, my primary driving force is I want to create in music and explore the creative ideas that I have. That's the number one driving thing. Well, then I don't need to get too caught up in all the minutia and just like, you know, make radio ready tracks and all that kind of stuff, or have even the very best playing. It just has to be good. And, you know, I think both you and myself and everybody in the comments today, we've all been playing long enough that we can do something that's reasonably good. It, you know, it might not be the best. It's probably not the best at all, but it's good. In terms of the standard of just like making music and getting it out there.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's okay to just put something out, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that. And if anything, if you do something better next time, it's going to seem that much better to you.
Yeah. I think in terms of like multi-track releases, like you know, 5-6 songs or whatever or more. I try my best to do my best, which is interesting because I released the Metropolitan EP, Foreign's material, back in 2016, and it took me about 6 years to write all that material because I didn't really know what I was doing. It was a kind of music that I'd never really written before, and that I don't know about you, but for me, as soon as the tempo is slow, I find it very difficult to write with variety. And write with, you know, with a sense that ties all of the material together, but enough individuality within each track for each track to sort of stand on its own and deserve its own title and not just be a whole bunch of connected smaller pieces of the same song.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really difficult for me, even though it's not a terribly slow, it's not like doom slow, but I was pulling from those kind of influences. I'm like, I want to kind of somehow capture that vibe, but essentially make 2-minute, 3-minute pop punk bangers that are actually like doomy and kind of sad and whatever, but also maybe a little bit mathy. But how do you do mathy stuff when it's slow? But it took me a long time to do it.
Yeah.
And the when it came time to re-record all the tracks and put them together in a collection of tunes, I kind of like rushed through it, and I was impatient and just wanted it to be done, and did a poorer job than the demos, which is so funny. I'm like, what a dumb thing to do.
That happens to me sometimes, where like my demo stuff, I've kind of developed a thing for it with the band now, but early on my demos would be They never really are demos. They're basically the idea as fleshed out as I can get it, because I'm an audio engineer. I'm so used to that process. So like I retune every single take. Like I got DIs going of everything. So it's not far from what could be a finished product. And it literally it comes down to, do I want live drums on this? Do I want other people to play on it? Because if none of those things were a variable, I could just put out whatever. But I don't know. I guess without losing the point too much, but I just try to not think of it in terms of like the demo was better, because sometimes the demo is better.
Yeah, it is. It just is sometimes.
But I have to I spent like the last Close Atch record, that whole thing was demoed, and there was like 15 songs that were taken down to 8 songs. And at one point back up to 10, then back to the 8, and getting rid of one, and like all this stuff going on. And there are songs that I felt really strong about that just didn't fit with that group of material, but also didn't really work well on their own. Like they feel like they need to be a part of something. Yep. So I've had all sides. I've basically done it to where I know the demos sound better. I've done it to where I have demos that I feel are better than the material we're releasing. I actually have some of that going on right now. We have 8 songs that are recorded. They're all great. I'm very happy with them. But towards the end of the session of that, I started writing more material, because we're changing how we're releasing stuff this time. And now there's like 3 newer songs that I feel are better than the songs we've already tracked. And it's like, I could just release them. Like I just put vocals on them and release them, because I've already done a full version of it with drums and everything. And it's kind of hard, because it's like, I want to put stuff out. At the same time, I know we have this other plan going, and it'll mess the plan up.
Yeah.
So, and I also don't, because it's for that project, I don't want to release material separate and be like, this isn't part of that, but it sounds exactly like it.
Yeah, it's not being too precious about it. It's just like, there is a framework, and it's not that big of a deal if you kind of just stick to the framework and just, do you ever feel particularly precious about your stuff? I feel like you seem like the kind of person that at this point, you're kind of like, I just like doing it, and I can just stick to the plan, and it's all good.
Yeah, I've completely relinquished a lot of control with certain things to Sean, the other guitar player in the band, as far as how we're promoting things and all that stuff kind of moving forward. And at first I was a little hesitant about it, because I've kind of been running that side of things for long periods of time, years now. And it's weird to give up a portion of that control and not feel like this should come out in this order. This song should be heard first. Like all that stuff I do get a little bit at times precious about, but I realize that I probably don't know what's best. I know what I like about the material, but the one advantage to being in a group of people is that everyone can kind of listen to it and see what things sticks out. And sometimes what
sticks out negatively, but also what sticks out positively,
right,
and maybe isn't fully capitalized on. It's like, we need to give that way more time, way more emphasis.
Oh, without question. I see a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
If you want to do questions now, or you want to wait?
Yeah. Can you grab one? I'm going to be right back.
You do your thing. Okay. Hello, Stacy. Yeah, be it a sound engineer and a musician, do you feel sometimes you get caught up in the minutiae? Yes. There are times when I'm working on a project and recording it that I get really caught up in certain ways of doing things that aren't necessarily hello?
Are you okay?
Conducive to productivity. Or I get kind of trapped in a loop of having maybe too many options, because I know I don't know. I create crutches for myself that are not necessarily the best
I'll
thing.
check on you in a minute.
And at times on the musician end, I also tend to think of it, and maybe I should be doing something more interesting or something more musical, arguably. But it's hard to not have some of that happen. But at the same time, you kind of just to learn how to step away and just kind of, okay, am I going to be the guitar player or am I going to be the audio engineer? That so much so with the point that you're asking here is that there's been times up until the past few years where I've paid other studios and gone and recorded just so I can be a musician and nothing further. Like I'm just going to play and I'm going to record and put in a good performance and experiment in the recording stage, but I am not going to be pressing any of the play and record functions and doing any of the EQing, mixing any of that stuff. So
yeah,
it goes.
There's a real kind of romantic notion in being the musician and the producer and the engineer, and that's where my life led. But yeah, that whole thing of where it's a benefit being all of those things is in the writing process, because you can fully flesh out ideas to the highest possible level that you are capable of.
Oh, yeah.
So long as you have enough perspective and ability to sort of step away. But I think what you're like exactly what you said about the final recording, the final record.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge benefit to going and working with someone who is just going to take care of making sure everything sounds right, and also keeping an ear on, like, are you really going to do that there? Or, we need to do that again, or we really don't need to do that again. It's all in your head type of thing. Because I am definitely the kind of person to do a take 100 times, not exaggerating at all. I'll do it 100 times, no problem. And a lot of times what I'm searching for, I'm like, it's not even the timing or the tuning. A lot of times it's like, I just want it to kind of have that little bit of a feel thing.
Yeah.
And I'll be chasing it. And it's stupid. And if you're working on a final recording, having somebody to kind of guide you in that way is great.
Yeah, it's nice to not have the added pressure of it. I think I alluded to that a little bit. Sometimes there's too many options when you're doing things yourself.
Yeah.
And
way
you need someone else to tell you to put down whatever it is you're doing. And take 13 of 100 was fine. Why are we still doing it?
Yeah. Just want to take a second to say hello to a bunch of people that we have not said hello to, or at least I have not. Baritone called, hello, how are you? Miles finally got off work and is hanging with us. Synth Chris, how are you? I hope all is well. And Stacy, we were just talking about your comment there. I hope everyone is well. And Miles says, Pookie, yeah, you guys are noticing my home life here. What couple doesn't have pet names? Maybe Stephen Barton does not.
No,
it's very serious.
They exist. My wife has pet names for every creature that resides in our house.
Yeah,
the literal pets and myself.
Yes, they have their given names as well as their pet names.
Yeah.
Important.
The occasional curse word. Let's see. There's that one. Seems pretty involved. Caught between conflicting feelings of wanting to. Yeah. It's just you have to. As we already said, you kind of have to know when to walk away or take a step away from it. It literally can come down to just leaving for a while and coming back.
Yeah. It's
Miles.
I got to put it up there.
That's pretty good.
It's that's stage worthy. That's stage worthy comedy right there. Hopefully it's comedy. Hopefully we're talking some comedy. Miles.
Oh boy.
But yeah, where are we going? What is the path? You know, something that I've run into. I'm curious to feel or to find out like what your vibe is on this, Stephen, because we have a lot of similarities between us. We're both, you know, engineering, producing musicians who play a number of instruments, let alone like not just guitar. I play drums, you play drums. Mm-hmm. We're both interested in the graphic arts in varying degrees. We both do videos, all these sorts of things. Something that I have really came to my attention after watching these documentaries, and it's not even like coming right out of the documentary itself. It's more about like realizing like who I've always been in a way, and sometimes not really paying attention to who you actually are. And I'm really interested in, I don't know, artsy things, you know. To me, artsy is a good thing. Like some people would be like, ooh, sounds really artsy. Ooh, looks really artsy. Like it's a bad thing. I'm like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like,
never understood the negative connotation of it.
Yeah, well, I think if you're like a sports person who is interested in your 401k, but you happen to also like music a little bit, that can happen. You know, you're like, ooh, sure. I don't want stuff that is too, like I like to listen to the jams from the radio or whatever, but don't challenge me too much. I'm not, it sounds like I'm digging into it. I'm not. It's just like, that is a thing. That is a profile.
Absolutely.
And it's totally fine. But sometimes they cross over, like worlds collide, and there's always like one side that is a little less forgiving than the other side, which is also fine. You know,
For sure.
I don't even care. Like that stuff does not bother me. It does bother some people a great deal, but whatever. Yeah, I like the really artsy stuff. And I feel like over the last couple of years, in a lot of ways, I've kind of become a lot more generic, at least according to what I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. Not a lot more generic, but you know, not as wild, not as creative, not as adventurous as maybe I was traditionally, by quite a bit. And it's something that, I don't know, kind of disturbed me in a way. Watching this documentary, it just kept going deeper and deeper into this thinking and this reminder. And I'm like, man, I'm making very bland videos and kind of not really doing much with graphic design in any medium, whether it be album covers or my website or anything like that. There is a certain element of design that I also appreciate, which is like simple, functional, clean, take away anything that doesn't need to be there. Like there's a part of that I really admire. But what's most interesting to me is sort of the tipping point of that, like the function of design, what design seeks to, like design seeks to improve the human experience. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, like if you break down what design is supposed to be about, or where it comes from, or what drives it. But then I also like fine art or abstract art. You know, my partner is like a pretty big to do abstract artist, and I love that sort of stuff. And I love when those two things meet, when like art, visceral art, expressive art meets sort of on that edge of design, and where they can find a place to coexist. Yeah. And I feel in the last couple of years, I've not moved away from it, but I've kind of evolved away from it, but not in a way that I'm interested, or that I'm okay with.
Right.
Do you have anything similar like this? Is this something that you struggle with or have struggled with in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I go through
You did
phases
the pop
of
band a long time ago. I don't know how that was for you.
what is it?
You did the pop band a long time ago.
Yeah, like I was in like a pop rock thing. Um, that was it's one of those things of like when I was doing it, it didn't seem off to me. But then
Right.
once
I
it,
don't know it, so I just bring it up because.
yeah. Uh, once it became no longer kind of how you're explaining, like once it became no longer creatively fulfilling to me,
Mhm.
then I continued to do it for a good year or two, but I really wasn't involved. Like I was doing the shows, recording and working on it and traveling and touring, but I just didn't really care if it was there or not. I enjoyed the benefits of it. I enjoyed that part of it for sure. And I enjoyed the travel and shows more than the rest of it, honestly. But my heart wasn't in the material. I didn't connect with it anymore. And it wasn't where my brain was creatively at all. Like the things I was interested in, the music and the art and stuff that I was interested in were always kind of the antithesis of what I was creating, which isn't to say that that's a bad thing because it's still the
It's
same.
just an interesting contrast.
Right. Yeah. So I still have that, like where we talk all the time. Like I listen to a lot of like electronic music and even like electro pop stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm in a band that's like a post metal doom band. Those two worlds don't really intertwine, but it's in the same way. Like I'm getting something out of that. I can say that a recent discovery I made that kind of is similar to your point is that I started releasing the Ohio Faust stuff, which is purely electronic for the most part. There's some live instrumentation in it, but it's mostly, electronic.
It's got an electronic vibe, even if there are traditional instruments.
Right. And I was listening to I've got a few newer songs with that, but I did a full record of that stuff in 2008. Like I just out of my apartment, like in my room, I did a whole record of it.
Yeah.
And listening to it now, because I'm trying to reacquaint myself with that project and the headspace of the first view of it, because I didn't care if anyone heard it. So that changed how I was doing it. There were things that I enjoyed that were not great production techniques, just things that just sounded cool or interesting or were gross enough to my ear that were like, no one is going to like this, but that's pretty cool to me. Because I was in a band. I was already doing Close the Hatch at that point. It was like at the very beginnings of that band. And I just didn't, I was still finishing the prior band, converting to Close the Hatch. But either way, I wasn't making an effort to promote the material. I just put it up on, I want to say it was on MySpace or one of those. And it's there, but I wasn't making an effort to get people to go buy it or listen to it. So I'm realizing now, listening to it, that I have not really ever captured anything that way before because I cared about someone hearing it. So there's some stuff that I'm doing on that first recording, the one from 2008, that I've never done again, but it was mostly based in I don't care if these are mistakes. I don't care if somebody that's an audio engineer hears it and it's there's too much compression on this, there's too much of this on that, there's too much it sounds interesting to me, and it allowed me to I'm literally just making noises on some of those songs. Even the background vocals are just noises and grunts and shit. So but it was fun because it didn't matter. If it never went any further than my ears, then I was cool with that. And now trying to recapture that vibe is actually proving to be quite difficult because I've already presented the material in a more organized fashion to people that have a view of what it was. So it's hard for me to be I want to try to capture this I don't give a fuck attitude about this early record from, over a decade ago.
You should try it, just see what happens.
Right. And it's how far and that's the problem I'm having. Like, does it become disingenuous because I'm trying to do it now?
No.
Okay.
Creativity. What's beautiful about creativity is the conditions that you apply to it is technically part of the creative treatment, no matter what the conditions are. So I think you have complete carte blanche in a situation like this, where it is a solo project and you can do it any way you want. And people are interested in the material that is a little more easy listening, so to speak, as you say. I don't know. It's not going to be easy listening to somebody. Somebody's going to be like, this is acid in my ears. We don't make music for everybody.
True.
But yeah, I think it would be worth trying or exploring. And what's interesting, something I've found in terms of creativity in general, is that the more that you explore along a line, the more pronounced that line becomes, and that the less exploring is required. Things just suddenly start showing themselves. So sometimes it's just kind of like flexing in a direction and seeing what squeezes out, and sometimes a whole lot more than you expected squeezes out, but you need to get it started at least, right? You know this already. I think we all know this already, but it's easy to forget and easy to get caught up in the things that I guess maybe the more sensitive sort of side of things, where it's like, oh, what are people going to think of me? And what am I going to think of myself? And am I being, I don't know. Am I being weird about it in some way? And usually, yeah, you are being weird about it, but being weird is good.
Yeah. Hey, part of me kind of always has wanted to do something with it, which is why it always kind of comes back to the surface for me. But I really want to do something with that project that I put the same amount of promotional effort into that I do my band and all that, and just give it a shot to see how it goes, which is kind of where I'm at with it now. But it's also like I said, I'm discovering this feeling and clear not giving a fuck about what I did in 2008. And now I'm like, man, there was some stuff that was pretty wild on there for no real reason, but it's there and I enjoy it. But I don't know, maybe there's a way to kind of balance the two, because the newer material I've done with that project is not as grimy as the older stuff. So,
right. I don't know. Follow your heart. Try to get into the habit of saying yes to your musings. And I think that this is a thing that a lot of us lose our way, is because we start saying no a little too much. And yeah, you're good, man. It's like that stuff is great material, and I feel like there's a lot of room to move inside of that material. So where can you move? Try some stuff.
Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence there.
Yeah,
I really do. I'll give it a shot.
Get in there. Get in there. Baritone Cult says, same on the art, love it. And what he's referring to is, we were talking about how myself and also Stephen, I really like the artsy stuff. I'm really motivated by the artsy stuff. Even when it comes to death metal, I'll take gore guts and ulcerate and I don't know, Sunless over a million other things. However, there's a special place in my heart for Cannibal Corpse, and I would argue that Cannibal Corpse is more creative than most people understand. Go take a listen to a lot of Cannibal Corpse, and you'll realize that they're actually a really weird band. But for some reason, people think of them as the pop death metal band. Anyway,
it's kind of interesting. Their artwork is also fairly intertwined with their whole thing. Yeah.
They are the full embodiment of a horror movie, a splatter horror movie in music format. But the music there is a lot of stuff to sink your teeth into that you don't hear in most death metal, and a lot of it has been an influence on me. Like I steal the trills and all that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff in the way they do it that is really interesting. But anyway, getting back to the principal thing, yourself, myself, and Baritone Cult also really enjoy the kind of like outsider stuff, I guess, in any particular genre. I like the 1% that's way out on the tail end of any genre. So, Nightmare, Gorguts, all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of death metal. Mostro.
Yeah.
As example.
The Mostro stuff is amazing.
It's really good. But what's interesting about yourself and Baritone Cult is I think in the whole world of YouTube, I've connected with a lot of people through this. So have you. So has everyone in the comments. We've all had this opportunity to connect with a lot of people in various ways. You two, Baritone Cult and yourself, are the only people where there is a huge swath of bands that we can all refer to. I'll be like, oh yeah, I love that. And you're like, oh yeah, I know how I saw them here. It was amazing. Yeah. And it's like, I don't have that with anybody else. I do in my personal life, like all of my personal friends, we all listen to the same stuff. It's all that stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. You and Baritone Cult are the only guys on the internet where it's like, I could say, do you know the band Horrors? And Aaron's like, yeah, I love them. I have their shirt and I saw them 47 times. And people don't think that we're, talking about a slight against, sex workers or whatever.
Nope. Yeah, that record, Gold, is awesome.
Yeah. And how many people are going to know that it's ex-members of Capsule?
Probably.
And that there's a connection between Capsule and whatchamacallit?
Capsule's where it ends for me. I'm not sure where that goes from.
Well, big band, really big band. Like the one band I can't think of the name of right now. They use the big whammy drops, and they have the tune that's tuned to the fart note.
Whammy drops.
They started on like Robotic Empire, but now they're like a major label doom band. Probably the biggest pop doom band of all time.
I don't know. The drop stuff, I'm thinking Torch, but that's more.
That's it, Torch.
So yeah, they just have silly tuning. Well, Torch came out of Floor and Cavity.
Yeah, but there's a connection between Torch and Capsule.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, weird Florida stuff.
Yeah.
Totally relate to, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I always have just been curious about, prior to the internet, of course, I always was curious about just what is the weird thing. Like there used to be, I'm sure it's without question where you are, there's a lot of record stores still there. But when I grew up, they were like, this sounds old, but whatever. There were still record stores everywhere. There's still like CD Connection and like Disco Round, like all these places these are very Ohio
Tower,
right? And you had, those FYE before it became like a toy store, basically. Camelot. There were a bunch of them. Sam Goody.
Man, I remember Camelots.
Yeah. Record Town. Anyhow, my favorite thing to do when I was like first really getting into becoming a musician, not just listening to music, but like I got a guitar when I was 12, barely touched it for a few years. Yep. And then I got like 15 or 16, I really got into it, but I also was like really interested in consuming as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So I got to where I like figured out a few people that would like, some of these smaller record stores would have like employee picks. Like on the wall, like, go listen to so-and-so or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, tell me about that,
Yeah.
Or like, what's it similar to? Or, you know what I mean? Like, and then they used to be back in the day where you could actually like if you wanted to hear a CD that you were going to buy, you could listen to it before you bought it.
The listening station, the HMV
Yeah.
listening station, or the Tower
Yes.
Records listening station. I loved it.
So I'd like find a thing and I'd go
Stack
through
this
everything.
high.
Yeah. And then I'd be like, okay, well, that's weird as fuck. It's going home with me. Like, that's, I mean, I got all of that, like so many things that I became interested in musically, that even like the obscure stuff, or even like bands like Hum and Quicksand. And,
Oh yeah.
like I literally found them by listening to
at the bar, at the listening bar. Oh, amazing.
And yeah, they all, I mean, they went on the first Helmet record, Unsung or whatever.
Oh,
or what is that? Yeah, and then Strap It On, I think, is the one before that. One of them I heard just in, like, it was a used CD. I listened to it at the store and I was like, this is wild, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
And then listened to them, I still love Helmet, but like way into them up until Betty. And then like that whole thing, I went to see Helmet and Korn opened for Helmet.
Right.
I was like, and then, okay, well, that's a whole other thing. Like Korn's a thing now. Like, it's just so weird. Like it all kind of spun into this other thing. And then I'm the weirdo too, that like back when it was more of a thing, when bands were touring on that level, you'd have like bigger bands that were taking out buddies of theirs on the road.
Yeah, that was an amazing. That
was
only a moment,
right?
People don't really do that so much anymore.
They can't
afford touring packages now. Yeah,
right.
I guess so, right?
But I remember, like, I went to see Clutch is one of my all-time favorite bands. I've been going to see them since I was 14. I'm 39 now, so I've been listening to that band a long time. I've seen them over 35 times. Like, I have ticket stubs I received. It's ridiculous. But there were a lot of bands that opened up for them, became big things later. But there were also bands like Nebula and like Darkwater Transit and Tree and 60 Watt Shaman, like all these bands that never blew up. Like the most notable thing in that group is that the dude from 60 Watt Shaman got murdered. Like beyond that, no one really knows about that band. Yeah, it's awful. But that was another thing. Like I was the weirdo that gave a shit about the opening bands. So like I wanted to get there early to like see a thing I hadn't seen before. I discovered so many bands that way. Mastodon, I saw them opening for Clutch way early. And like
Remission, that album. I listened to it pretty much a couple times a week at least still.
It's still good. That one is amazing.
The riffs, the whole thing is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I discovered a lot of music just by collecting things. And this is, a tangent clearly, but like, there's something to be said about, experiencing all of this stuff. Like, and I think the difference now is that I don't think it was ever that different. It just was harder to get a hold of. Whereas now there's so much and you can find anything anywhere. And the attention span is so small that it's hard to like find a band and really dive into them. And
yeah, it's interesting that, give me a second.
All right.
grab a few comments. Hey, Thomas Powell. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, Anthony. Hey, Thomas. I am going to pull up a thing here. Let's see here. Records that have made a comeback. Yeah, man, like vinyl's awesome. Like you can see kind of down there, there's a bunch of vinyl records and I've got a whole stack of them. But just being able to actually have really cool artwork and have it in a physical manner is cool. I know that there's a whole debate over whether physical medium is important or not, but I do think that there's something to be said about something tangible. And I don't know, like grab a random record, but like, well, end up grabbing my wife's record, but there's something cool about actually having a thing and being able to look at it, see the liner notes. Obviously you can read that stuff online, but it's more interesting to experience it in a physical way, I think. And, I don't know, it just makes you feel more connected to a thing. I think it's rare for people to be as obsessed with a particular artist these days as they used to be, or really be able to dive into them, because now the information is all there. If you want to find out about every member that's ever been in a band, you just look up Wikipedia and there's your answers. You don't have to like go hunting through the archives to find the previous bands they were in, and like find a guy that knows a guy that saw them playing with this band. You don't have that anymore because you can just look it up. Like there's no need for the hunt. Yeah.
Have you noticed, in terms of that exact topic, have you noticed how many smaller bands that are doing something really interesting who are on Bandcamp and only on Bandcamp have absolutely no information whatsoever? And I'm like,
there's a new breed of that for sure.
I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I really like this. I'd like to follow up with it. I'd like to kind of get to know more. There's nothing. There's no information. There's no links. There's nothing. It's just a cover and a track. And I'm like, great. So in some ways, yes, it is in a lot of ways, it's very easy to follow up with things and never actually follow up with them. You're just sort of inundated with so much. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of the coin, there's also this new wave, maybe because it's sort of an answer to the inundation of, the barrage of info, the barrage of, check out my band stuff that some artists are sort of pushing back in the way. It's like, it's all about the music and that's it. I don't care if anyone ever listens to it.
Yeah. I have a respect for that way of thinking without question. Like, I think it matters.
Give me a second. I'll be back. Yeah, folks.
We will.
What are you doing, Cookie?
These days, streaming. Diving into a band doesn't happen often. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's so many songs. I'll leave that up, actually. There's so many songs in full releases that weren't singles or things I had heard before that were amazing. But you had to buy the record and actually sit through the record to find the things. And there used to be, like on CDs, and this is also a thing, used to be negative tracks. I don't know if anybody remembers those, but like every song is technically separated by 2 seconds. And then in the era, particularly like 98 through like 2005, there was this real emphasis on negative tracks. So there's all these other additional things that only play if you let the record play all the way through. If you skip track per track, you never hear that stuff. But if you let it play, it actually goes into other loops and like these negative track things that you would never hear unless you actually let the record play in its entirety. You don't necessarily have that on vinyl because you don't have the digital aspect. But even at that, like, I've been friends with people that buy records and then don't realize they have a variant of a record. Like, for instance, like the first Slipknot record, it came out in a couple of forms. Like, the first release of it had the song Purity on it. And there was some issues legally with that song. So there's a pressing that has that hundreds of thousands of them that exist with that on it. But then they stopped production of that version to put I think it's Me Inside is the other song that went in its place. But I have friends that later on down the road had never heard Purity because they got the CD a year into the promotion of that record that did not have that song on it anymore. So there's all these things, like if you don't actually give something a listen or research it, you'll never find it. The internet makes it easy to find it, but at the same time, you still kind of have to know what you're looking for.
Hey, gents.
Hello? Feel free to pull up anything you want to comment on.
Yeah, for sure. That last one, it's interesting because I hear a lot about people talking about streaming and how things just kind of like happen across your plate if you are into the streaming thing.
Yeah.
And I've definitely discovered a few artists through streaming. I don't take advantage of streaming in my personal life, but when I was working at an office, like an office job, everyone there liked streaming, and sometimes we'd listen to cool streams. And anytime something unique and new would happen, I'd be like, "What's that?" And I'd follow up with it later and then go buy it. But I hear a lot about, the streaming, like, I'm not discovery is difficult, or it's just different or whatever. But I'm like, there is Bandcamp. You can go to Bandcamp and there's an endless amount of awesome stuff, and you can just keep going. It never ends.
Yep.
And it's like digging through the record bins at the record store.
Right.
And there's an unlimited amount of amazing stuff on Bandcamp. It's crazy.
I found bands from just the recommendations, or from my own music, because people can like it or whatever, their little square goes down there, but I'll click on their things and see what other stuff they listen to.
Yeah.
Because maybe they have similar interests, they somehow stumbled upon my stuff. I find all kinds of music that way.
Yeah. It's the best.
Yeah. Like I have a literal hard drive that's just full of random stuff, and I have way more music than I could ever listen to in my entire lifetime. But
yeah,
it's also kind of nice. Like the stream thing is definitely a thing. It's not necessarily like I listen to podcasts more when I'm like occupying time.
Yeah.
Like if I'm working on something. And I listen to music that's instrumental as background stuff if I'm like working on school stuff or a painting or something, because I don't want the added, like it has to be something that's kind of subtle, because if it's something super crazy, it distracts, because I start paying attention to the musicianship or like what's happening in the recording and not the thing I'm working on. So it has to be something I've either heard a million times so that I'm not invested in it as much.
Yeah.
Or something that's just so subtle and background noise that it doesn't interfere. Like I can just like the lo-fi hip hop stuff I usually put on just to like work on stuff, because I don't have an investment in it. Like I'm not interested in necessarily what's going on with it, but
which is something that has become really important to me as of late, to like be very careful about what I'm listening to and when I'm listening to in relationship to how it's influencing my creativity, particularly in the world of music. Because contrary to a lot of people, it's like, it's really important to me to try and just sound like myself. Some people are really reaching to kind of like sound like, they have a prototype in mind. And they're like, oh, that is the thing we're trying to do. And I'm like desperately trying to not do that. It's a difficult thing to do. You're always going to sound a little bit like something, but so I've been very mindful of that thing for those reasons, like curating my listening and listening a lot more to electronic music and a lot more to things like podcasts and whatnot. Also podcasts and audiobooks, like they make you smarter, especially your podcast, Stephen Barton. That's sexy.
You want to
pure wisdom.
Learn about things that were considered erotic in the 70s and 80s. Definitely. Listen to our podcast. I listen to either it's something to do with like true crime stuff, because I'm interested in that stuff. Just legal injustices and things of that nature. I'm very interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
And I listen to like junk science and all that stuff a lot. And then I still listen to what you call it, Audio Lab or Stereo Lab, Radio Lab. Sorry,
Radio Lab. It's so well done.
It's incredibly well done. Every one of them is highly interesting, even if it's a topic I don't care about.
Yeah.
There's been so much stuff that I've learned as a result of it. There's been episodes of that, listening to it, that like legit made me upset or like made me cry, but enough to like come back and continue to listen, because every episode is super enthralling. And they just, and the audio work on that show is a whole other topic in general. It's amazing. But being able to learn something simultaneously and then kind of get interesting perspectives is cool. I try to find things like that as much as I can, and like Freakonomics is good sometimes.
That's a great podcast.
Yeah, the what you call it? The podcast. Trying to think.
That's sexy.
Yeah, that is our podcast. Yes, I listened to that, and what you call it? Malcolm Gladwell has a thing with Rick Rubin that's been really good. And it's either Malcolm Gladwell interviewing someone or it's Rick Rubin interviewing someone.
Right.
Or Malcolm talking to Rick. And it's interesting because Rick's production stuff is very particular. There's people that don't consider him a producer, but I'm not one of those people. Clearly, he has done some great work. A lot of songs that were very familiar, Tom Petty hits and stuff, would not be a thing had Rick Rubin not been around.
Slayer would not be
Slayer,
the most important thrash band of all time if it wasn't for Rick Rubin. That album, Angel of Death, like that album is an insane record. That tune, Angel of Death, the tune, is just insane.
Yes, you have like this whole world of stuff with him. It's interesting, but he'll interview musicians. Most of them are like A-list musicians, Kanye West types and such. But occasionally it'll be someone else. But his questions, and again, Rick Rubin's a strange guy because he's also got this kind of yogi vibe thing happening. But these interviews are so incredibly well done. His questions are poignant because he is a musician and someone who appreciates music and has been around it. So he asks questions that someone who has a musical mindset would want that question asked. Right. And there's not been an episode on it that hasn't been intriguing for me because I'm not that interested in every artist he has on, but I'm always interested
in the story
and the creative process for that individual.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me if I like the music. I still want to know like what it took Andre 3000 to write Hey Ya, you know what I mean? Like it's interesting to me, other people's creative process. So that's good for that.
I'll be back.
Oh boy. I'll put up a link to the podcast here. Or at least the description there. You can just look it up on Apple or Spotify, Deezer, anything podcasts are on. It's around. Basically, we read stories that were submitted to vintage erotica magazines of the 70s and 80s, and then kind of make crude commentary while reading these submitted sex stories. Not safe for work, not appropriate for children. Your grandma might like it. She might hate it. It might give her a heart attack. It might do other things to her, like turn her on or something. I don't know. I don't make the rules, but we do have a silly podcast, my wife and I. Is very silly. Podcasts do ones on true. Yeah. See, I'm into the true crime stuff and conspiracy stuff as well. Hello, RoughRiffs. I don't know if you're still here or not. There's a lot of beeping happening. Yeah, you get it. There was that. Endless Nameless. There's what you call it? Man, I'm trying to think. There's a lot of records that had secret tracks and stuff back then. The Green Day record, Dookie had one. Those are two really obvious ones, but yeah, there's a ton of that stuff in that era. Let's see. Clutch Rules. I know there's a lot of people that don't like them, but they're the last troubadours of rock and roll, if you ask me. Completely self-reliant at this point. They own most of their own masters now, run their own label, own PR, own promotion, and kind of do their own thing. Antichrist Superstar did have a ton of those. It did. It had negative tracks too. There was stuff in between the songs that wasn't there unless you listened all the way through on the CD. Also, incredible artwork and packaging on that record at the time. Really interesting. I don't know if somebody's getting thrown across the room or something over there. Yeah. The mic is hot over there. Either way. Oh boy. Electric Meat Puppet. What is up, buddy? You are looking into the window that is into Bunn's home life right now. It sounds like a microwave is also happening. but he will be back momentarily. And we are just, well, I'm more or less holding down
back in a minute.
Yeah, he's checking in, and he'll be back. Anybody have any questions or anything while he's out? Or feel free, if now is the time, to insult me while he's not present. Perfectly fine. Manson and Tool did always have amazing packaging. The last Tool record had 3 or 4 different versions of amazing packaging. One had like an HD video player in it, with like a full booklet. The sleeves on that DVD VHS thing that came out forever ago was amazing. The weird optical illusion thing on Enema, amazing. Hot Pockets are kind of a gift that keeps on giving. They also can burn you to death, at least whatever you're, if you don't give it time. But the thing is it's so delicious. How can you wait? Also diarrhea. This is what it's like if I was ever to like host a news thing. Now back to you, Diane. You hate my glasses? That's fine. That's fair. It's fair. I look like a bookworm and someone who can't see very well. Looking smarter doesn't mean I am smarter. Most of the things you say and do are vastly more intelligent than what I do. So there's that. I may look smart, but boy, am I stupid. Well, all right. So if Bunn was here, he would talk me through that one and not let me talk poorly of myself. He's usually rather encouraging. But when he's away, I'll talk poorly of myself, especially to make Miles feel better. I have gotten word that Nick Hill may be jumping on, so I won't be the only person with glasses on the screen, and I'll drop down to being the 3rd most intelligent person that's in the stream. Mechanical Animals did have the blue plastic. You're right. The vinyl of that had some even crazier stuff, which was very rare. But yeah, like weird speckled vinyl for the era. They weren't making a lot of pressings of it. Man, you're beating me in the social medias. You got all the medias socialed up, making all of the sweet stuff. You're the new Beato, though. That's the thing. You think I'm joking. I think you're much more relatable than him. You don't have as much animosity towards things like Apple or products that change with time or science development change. You don't seem to be against that stuff, and it seems like Mr. Beato is. Very talented guy, great producer, clearly very musically educated, but he's a bit of a crybaby, and Miles is not a crybaby.
What do we got? Almost 9:30.
Bunn trumpets. Nick Hill will be joining shortly, according to the text message.
Amazing. What I might do is when Nick Hill jumps in, I might jump out and be full-time nurse.
Fair enough. Okay, you're not Rick Beato. I'm just saying, like, let me lay it out because I don't want it to be a bad thing. There's no negative connotation.
I thought you were. Miles.
Yeah. No, like you do a lot of stuff on music theory, Miles, and you communicate in a way that's easy to understand and seems like it's from the perspective of someone who is not jaded by the current things, in the world. You do it with a much more passive way and something that feels exciting and you want to learn. I do think Beato does brilliant stuff on his channel. I also think that he does some of the most cringy shit I've ever seen on his channel. So it's nothing against him personally, but he has done whole videos about ageism and how he doesn't like Apple products because they change with time. There's just a lot don't do a whole video about that and then spend countless videos after arguing with the people who watch your channel about how they're all wrong. It seems counterintuitive to me, especially someone who has 2 million some followers. Are you really paying attention to each individual person that disagrees with you and then making it a point to make a video, yes, I'm Rick Beato, and I will be doing that. I'll highlight every negative comment in its own little blurb on my thing and then do a video about it.
Very much where are we going, you know, very much the thing of like, there's a shiny thing on the side of the road. What's that all about?
Yeah.
Stick to the main thing, Mr. Rick Beato. Which he is very, very good at the main thing, whether you like him or not. He is very good at the main thing. The thing he does, he's very good at arrangement, songwriting, production, all of those things. Yeah,
I love the videos where he's breaking down the songs and has the stems and go like, I think those are amazing. I've learned a ton of stuff from them. I learned stuff about artists as far as their creative process. I've learned stuff about how talented they are that you don't really see until things are separated. There's plenty of great stuff on the channel there, just not when he goes on like personal rants and about people thinking he's old and stuff. But I think the advantage you have, Miles, is that you have none of that negative anything happening. You've yet to do too many rant videos about science and electricity that gets a little out of hand.
Yeah. No, I think you got a good thing going.
Yeah, you've got that, and you have all of the technical know-how with the theory and stuff, and that's stuff that a lot of people want to learn that don't necessarily know where to start with it. And sometimes, even though Beato has theory books and things like that, it's not the easiest step in that direction. You need to be eased into it a bit and not just kind of walk into it blindly. And I think you do a great job of that. So.
Yeah. We need baby steps, even though your baby steps are pretty advanced sometimes. So, but yeah, advanced baby steps are a good thing.
His music video is great. The most recent one he had up was really great. The music was great.
I'm like, where are you getting the $1 trillion budgets for these?
That's where
Mr. Miles.
Renting all the red cams.
Yeah, it definitely is. It done on red cams? It looks like it.
I don't know. Miles would have to answer that, but it does look.
It has like that.
It was done on that.
Yeah, it has that thing going on.
Like a black magic or something.
Yeah, it has that red contrast. Like red cameras have this like very contrasty look that is still really smooth. Still really filmic, but still contrasty, which is kind of a, those two ideas kind of fight against each other.
Yeah, they seem, high contrast and high color balance. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Super derailed from the topic at hand.
Yeah. But keeping the main thing. Well, Miles is keeping the main thing by he's doing his YouTube channel, but his YouTube channel is definitely, I think we all get lost in doing too much of the YouTube channel in ways that are too far away from our initial motivation, which is fine because I think we need to explore, and exploring is good. But Miles just put out a music video, like an actual full-blown, fully produced, wicked music video, keeping the main thing, which is music is the biggest thing, the most important thing, and he's doing it. And I have yet to do a music video. That's the whole reason I started YouTube. I'm like, I need to learn more about cameras. I need a reason to use cameras and to push those cameras as far as possible. And I don't know, 5 years later, I think it's 5 years, it says in my analytics, still no music video. I got to make some.
And I guess the videos that we do here are kind of music videos, but the most like strictly music video I've done, I guess would have been the Close the Hatch stuff, but actual performance video was the Ohio Faust thing that I posted up.
Yeah, that most recent one. That was great.
Yeah, that's just a 50 millimeter lens in the Canon.
Yeah. In effing with the contrast, getting that kind of like 90s MTV, seeing that kind of a look from that time. And I'm like, Stephen's doing it right now and I know the gear you're using. And I'm like, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's nothing special. I mean, But it doesn't take much.
But it looks awesome. Yeah, I gotta do it. I gotta keep the main thing the main thing. What are we doing? Whatchamacallit? I saw a comment here. Mouse does music. We got to start hawking books. I got to start hawking books 30 seconds into my videos. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, if you want to make all this stuff work, you got to start hawking stuff. Just got to find things that you're comfortable hawking, and maybe are relevant to the overall topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, never be shy about paying your bills, but you can do it. I think something that's important to remember there is you can do it any way you want. I bring this up a lot. The thing about, we're going to use marketing as an example. Everybody hates marketing. Mm-hmm. The part that everybody forgets when it comes to marketing is you can do it any way you want. You can be as artistic and creative and crafty with it as you want, and to the point where it almost is no longer marketing. But what is the point of marketing? Kind of like being that shiny thing on the side of the road. Someone's like, "Whoa, what's that?" Or something more than that. Something that's like, "Oh, I'm really this thing is clearly something I'm very interested in." It doesn't have to be a trick. As a matter of fact, the less of a trick that it is, but still engaging, like commanding of attention, the better. But marketing can be whatever you want. The business of music, the business of art, you can do it any way you want. You just have to live with your decisions in the end. So if you go the really sort of commercial route, the sellout route, then you have to kind of face the reality of that. I think most people don't really care, at least the people where it works out. A lot of people go that road and it doesn't work out. I would say majority of people go that road and it doesn't work out. And then that's like maybe a thing that doesn't taste very good in the end. But you don't have to go that road with anything. Yeah. You can keep it as artsy as you want. You can do your marketing as artsy as you want. You can do your commerce as artsy as you want. It is art, and you can apply your art to every single component of this whole thing that we're musing in, I try to always remember that, and I try to have as much fun with all of that stuff as possible. And hopefully going into the future, I'll be even more equipped to have more fun with it.
Yeah, there's a balance. I mean, we've talked about this on the channel before. You're great at it. I have kind of started to do it. My last few videos have had demo versions of Close the Hatch songs that are works in progress.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of starting to lean it a little bit to subtly bring those things into it. And more so basing it upon speaking to you and then this group of people here that watches these, because there's a handful of folks that said that they would like to see more of that. So I want to say, I don't know who it was. It was 13th Flaws or something. Someone said that they did not associate my channel with my band at all.
Right. So I remember that.
Yeah, kind of made it a point to kind of tie it back into things and kind of giving people a sneak peek of what I'm working on. Because both of those drum videos have unreleased material on them, which I'm hoping to kind of like, as things move forward, reference those songs again as they do become a thing.
Yeah. Little like kind of make it a fun little Easter egg kind of journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have fun with it. Yeah, it's interesting because as much as you have not tied your music to your YouTube channel or your sort of presence on the internet, I think even still enough has happened, enough has transpired, whether it be through talking to other people and other people bringing it up or whatever. But a fair number of people have discovered what you're doing as a result of being on the internet that were not aware of Close the Hatch prior.
Right.
So if you dialed it up a little bit, it might be cool. I gotta put the pizza in.
Okay.
Oh no, I gotta grab the pizza.
I guess I'm gonna start doing that.
Ooh, it looks so golden.
I have a separate channel for the band stuff, but I guess I got to kind of tie them in one way or another, and bigger reach on the gear stuff and things than my band page, which I guess is my own negligence. Plenty of views. It's different. Like there's a lot of views on the videos on the band thing, but not anywhere near as many subscribers. And then on my thing, there's more subscribers, and some videos get significantly less views. It's very random. If any of you are Mac users out there, I set up hot corners, and occasionally I'll accidentally bump into one of them when I'm doing something like this, and it completely covers my screen and other stuff, and it's very jarring each time. I know Baritone Cult does that on his. Miles, you do a lot of promotion of your stuff as well on different social media platforms. And I'm trying to follow suit. It's just kind of disciplining myself enough to do it regularly and not be shy about it. So I'm trying, and at everyone's encouragement and Bunn's encouragement, I'm trying to be more open about stuff. Yeah, I agree with you, Miles. It's just finding the way to do it that doesn't seem forced, and also is some like I don't know, maybe I'm silly, but I kind of want it to also be pseudo engaging too. So like if I'm showing somebody how to mix something, I'll use one of my songs as an example, and hopefully they'll like that. I get occasional comments where people are like, "What's that song in the background of whatever video?" And every time I have to be like, "Oh, I just made it up for that video." It's not a thing. You can't go buy it or hear it again. If you want to hear it, you just have to listen to the background of this video while I ramble over top of it. So I suppose I should be doing more things that are separate from that. I started out with good intentions for that, and very quickly fell into routine. And Bunn just flew back on the screen.
This must be a really weird episode.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're having a good time. We're having a good time. Dr. Bunn, not Dr. Bunn, Nurse Bunn. I'm doing some healthcare here today.
You're doing the right thing. You're helping out.
Helping out, doing my part.
Being a good partner.
Being a good partner. Being the best partner I can possibly be. Yeah, where are we going? What are we doing? All of that kind of stuff. We're edging up to the 10 o'clock thing. Is Nick Hill actually going to scooch in?
Apparently he's having issues logging into his computer,
No.
but he is trying.
Oh, interesting. Because it's almost time to kind of wind her down.
Yeah, we can still do things per usual. I mean, if he's not able to make it.
Yeah.
It was Electric Meat Puppet that's mentioned it, perhaps, yes.
Oh, okay. The making the connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is interesting. That's very in line with today's topic, which is you're doing this kind of YouTube thing.
There he
is. Doing this YouTube thing.
Hold on.
Oh, hold on. It's all good.
Hold on.
It's all good. I hate the Bunn.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good God.
Hotel room, Nick.
Oh, that's hotel room.
Hotel room, Nick. Yep.
Look at that. Amazing.
Wonderful state of Indianapolis.
I like Indy. There was always good.
That
There
makes
was
one of us.
there was always good shows there. Like there used to be like killer shows in Indianapolis. I don't know how it is now. But
I played a show in a place called Stubbs in Indianapolis, and there was a fucking tornado that threw the cars in the parking lot into the building.
That's a raucous show.
Yeah, the only other thing that I
The
remember
cars
about
are
that
moshing.
show is that I had to announce the drink specials in between the songs, which I was
No.
not happy about.
No.
And then a guy at some point came up to me and was like bitching to me, not realizing what band I was in, bitching to me about my band being on the show. Like, I'm so fucking upset that band is on the show. I listened to them on MySpace. This tells you when that was. I fucking think they suck. And I was like, that's cool. And then played, and then later on he realized that was me.
He's like, oh shoot.
And then he was like, let me buy you drinks, bro. I was like, I'm good.
I'm good, right?
You were mean.
Yeah. Nick, you are the Bunn.
You are the Bunn.
Oh, yeah.
But tying that last one in, the Close the Hatch and the YouTube, the Stephen Barton YouTube and the Close the Hatch, the whole thing, we're doing all this creative stuff and trying to kind of make things happen, trying to get all this creative stuff going out there. But then those two things are not connected in any way, and it's in a way almost working against you or wasting an opportunity. I'm not trying to like make it into a negative thing or anything like that, but it is definitely, there is a way to tie those things together in a way that you're artistically comfortable with and all of that. And it all be a positive thing for everyone, because I think Close the Hatch is amazing. And I think most people who in this world who happen by it is like, wow, I want to hear more of that band. Even if they're not like 100% in, they're like, oh, it's at least interesting enough for a bunch of listens. Like, even if you're like, I don't, it's too low tuned, it's too whatever. There's going to be someone where it's too much of that, but it's still really interesting.
I appreciate you saying that. That's very nice.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
I am?
No, it's from Back to the Future.
Oh, I get it. But Nick Hill, it's good to see you, but I'm going to depart here because I'm nervous.
I was listening, bud. No problem. I appreciate you guys.
So I'm going to eject here and take care of Care Bear.
Tell Pookie I hope she feels better.
Pookie. Hey, Pookie. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So, have a great night, everyone. Nick, man, thanks for swooping in here.
Yeah.
And Stephen, you have a great night. Everybody in the chat, have a great night. And
see you later, buddy.
We'll see you later. Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Wait. Oh man.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's gonna. He's booting us. Bye. Man, the whole process of me getting into the computer was kind of summary of the day today.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. We should really boot him so like we don't see his camera off to the side here. Turn your stuff off. Oh, no, he's just going to leave it on. This could get ugly.
It depends on what your view of ugly is.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've already had, like, I don't know how much of the show today you've seen. We've already had a very interesting look into Bunn's private life.
Yeah, I had it playing while I was trying to like figure out my password wouldn't work all of a sudden on my laptop, and I'm typing the correct password, so I had to go into recovery, go into the terminal, reset the password.
Jesus.
Yeah. It was a whole fun thing. Yeah.
Dr. Bunn has signed off, yes.
He's a sweet boy.
Yeah, it's very nice of him to be doing that. I don't know where you came in, at least hearing it, Nick, but I don't know. We're kind of just talking about, bringing your material into your channels.
Oh, yeah. It's something I'm notoriously bad at, apparently.
Bunn also, the topic was more so like things that are just, I guess, distracting you from finishing a project.
Life.
Yeah, so like working on a thing, then it slows down enough that you start working on something else. But then there could be momentum in the other thing, but you're doing something else.
Yeah.
The whole balance thing.
Yeah, lately I feel like I'm not doing anything, but I am. I'm still kind of in that boat. But Like I'm working on a video and I'm working on music and you know, it's just doesn't feel like it's enough progress. But I think that's going to happen time to time. You just got to kind of roll with it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what other option do you have?
Just stop doing shit altogether.
Thought about that in the shower today. Like maybe I should just stop YouTube.
I've had those moments. It just feels like a thing that's got to be done now. Not in a bad way. Like I enjoy doing it, but it's just part of.
I'm still gonna do it, of course.
Yeah, and every time that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take some time away from it. Then I'm like, I should at least do something. So really, what it comes down to is utilizing my time a little bit better.
It's funny because I'm sure you probably feel a certain way about your drum videos, but I'm like, man, I like those drum videos. I'm glad he's doing them, and you probably think they're just like sort of like filler throwaway videos. I don't know if that's how you feel. I'm being presumptuous, of course. That's what I do.
I kind of feel like there's so much of it already that it seems a little silly to do them. But and then I still did them, so there's that. But I also realized that maybe there are folks in this group of people that maybe don't know where to start or how they would go about doing it. So
yeah.
And I know we talk on this channel and on your streams, and occasionally when I do live streams, we talk about different programs we use to do things, or even in your case, you'll show people that you're using like Addictive Drums or whatever to program something, and you kind of get into how you're mixing things. But I also realize there's people that are just getting Easy Drummer and they don't know how to do the multi-out thing. So I feel like there is a place to show someone like how to get a little bit more out of the non-multi-out stuff. And then
yeah, for sure. And I think Bunn and I have had this discussion multiple times. I think there's going to always be an audience for that type of stuff, and even an audience on our own channels for like repeat videos of similar topics. You don't know how many people ask me to go over my recording setup. Like, I think I have 3 videos on it. I'm like, all right, I might not do another one. They're fun to do.
I noticed that the other day when I was looking for how to use. I wanted to do DIs with the stomp.
Yeah,
which is good for you, by the way. This is a good information. I meant to communicate it, but I knew it was like input 5 and 6. But I wanted to create an aggregate device using the quantum and the stomp.
Yeah.
So I had to like identify where 5 and 6 were, and because with the quantum
together,
it just has like 30 some inputs, and it's just like some of these are the helix, and okay, well, how do I find that? Anyhow, when I Googled it to try to look up how to do that, your videos, which I think there are 2 or 3 of exact same topic from different years.
Yep.
That are explaining how to do recording with the stomp as an interface and DI stuff. So yours are literally the 2 that pop up when you Google that. So
good.
That's pretty.
Then
good
I've done my job.
Right? You're done now. Quit.
I should stop, get to 10K, and then I never make another video.
It's, a 13 Flaws mix, a brilliant point. I'll put that up. That's the thing. Like,
yep.
There's no shortage of videos of all this shit we're doing. Like, we're all doing something someone else is doing.
Yeah, it's just the approach you take, and fucking personality comes into play. Apparently, most people like me, so that's cool. How does this mic sound? It sounds like it's compressing the living f out of my vocals.
It is. It's not as present as you usually are, but it's not. It's very clear. It just sounds more muffly than you usually do.
Muffly? I don't want it to be muffly.
I think that's a bad description.
Hello.
Just more low mid focus.
Hello. Let me try. Let's see. See here. How do I do this? Vintage.
See you, Stacy. I appreciate the questions, and I hope to see you on another one.
Anyway, I guess I shouldn't play with this right now.
It's fine. You can be heard. I don't know. I'm using the fine USB mic, so I can't really
Fine. Oh yeah, it's compressing the living. But Jesus.
I'm also using the Fine camera, which
Hello.
doesn't look bad
Hello.
now.
It doesn't. What did you do to it?
Nothing. There's just lights in here, I guess. The weird thing is that when I did my video for it on the tech channel, there were lights above me, to the side of me, and a full bay window that was open during the daylight, and it looked like horrible. It just didn't look good.
Huh.
But for whatever reason, in here it looks fine. So who knows?
Interesting.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know.
No, it looks good. So
you can see everything. It does have the fisheye thing going on, but
I kind of like though. I like the setup. I like that you can see all your guitars and your
you can see my bulk barn bag back there.
Your bulk barn bag. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you don't have bulk barn in the States.
No, we have farm and fleet.
It's like that, but if you didn't have any of the farm stuff, so it's just like
meat and stuff.
Kind of, you go in and there's just like bins of like flour, couscous, candy. Like you literally just walk around with a scooper and a thing and dump it in there and then take it to the counter and leave.
That sounds sick.
It's actually pretty cool, especially if you get, you're into candy stuff, or you got, you want like Reese's Pieces, but you don't want a box of them. You want like 3 pounds of them.
Yeah. When's your first bread baking video? Oh shit, dude! We should make a bread video when you're at my house.
Okay.
Do you know how to make bread?
No.
Perfect.
Well, we can buy a loaf of bread and put it in your oven and be like, wow.
Oh man, that's annoyingly funny.
This turned out great.
Speaking
of annoyingly funny,
wow,
and my drum video,
yeah,
more work went into the fucking 30 seconds at the beginning of that video than the entirety of the video.
I know, that's how it always is.
Like just the thing of me like getting the coffee, there's like 13 shots there.
Well, it looks great.
That's cool.
We should do more of that stuff, but make it more and more ridiculous.
I always want to do it, but I'm like, somebody's going to be like, this guy's an idiot, and I'm never going to watch the video.
Well, people are going to think that anyway, so it's like you may as well have fun.
You make a solid point.
Doing it, it's like, this guy...
Did you see how many people dropped out of the thing once it was just you and me, by the way?
That's fine. They don't like me anymore. I'm not on all the time. I'm sorry, people. I have a job. Oh, yeah. Mid-range crunch. Oh, yeah. The bread. Still talking about the bread. We're going to beat that
We're
horse.
back on that.
We're going to beat that horse. It's so dead.
That, for whatever reason, that live stream started getting views again.
Really?
And I don't understand. Like, I put a timestamp on like this whole first hour is real boring. The last of it is chaos and has nothing to do.
13,
the rest of it.
13. Yeah, we open the oven. Oh shit! And then a bad cut, and then it's out of the packaging. Just what I need to do is make like a terribly edited video, so like, I can have that in my reel.
Just a video of us shoving dough in a toaster.
I do want a new toaster, so that'd be a good excuse to break the one we have. We're gonna fuck my house up. Gonna be there for 3 days. Just trash the place. Oh shit!
This is where the good stuff comes out.
Yeah, this is the gold. Yeah, exactly. When there's like
I bet, like,
3 people.
I hope Bunn is listening to this and just bummed. Like, what did they do?
Guys, for the guys that are left in the stream, like Bunn's camera is still on and we can see it. So I'm just like side glancing, hoping, not hoping that that like some crazy shit starts happening.
Yeah,
on the camera.
It looked like it did most of the stream when he was doing doctor stuff. It's still just the same. Vegemite, fuck off.
Yeah, gross, dude.
Marmite,
you were
Vegemite.
being funny, and then
Marmite is disgusting. So is Vegemite.
That Marmite sounds like some sort of chemical you use to put in dynamite.
It does. Have you had either of these things?
I think I had Vegemite a long time ago. My dad went to Australia for work, so he brought some back. And of course, like, hey, you got to try this. Everybody in Australia loves it. and you try it, and you're like, oh, are they like a different form of human over there? What can they do? They not have? Do they not have taste? The sense of taste?
It's like the most briny vegetarian thing I've ever had.
Vegemite.
It's not
Fucking
my
great,
jam.
mate. No, it's nobody's jam. Gross.
I'm sure someone loves it, but
It's like that stuff you pour in your radiator to fill a leak.
Fix a leak. Fix a leak.
Yeah, it reminds me of that.
It does kind of have that consistency.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And it's probably as toxic. Well,
right.
This is definitely gone off the rails. I'm in Indianapolis on a video shoot, which is why I've not been here. And that video shoot turned into taking one of my coworkers to the urgent care because he was not feeling well the last couple days and had a stomach virus, and he was overwhelmingly dehydrated. So it was a whole thing.
That sounds.
But he's good,
rough.
and I took care of him like a dad, like I am.
You were his Pookie.
I was his Pookie. All is well. So
I will give you 13 flaws that I'm sure that on certain things it probably does do something for it, but I've never had that. Foster's, yes, the only beer in Australia.
isn't it not even an Australian beer?
I don't know, but I know people in Australia don't give a fuck about it.
Yeah, it's like their fucking Coors or Bush or Milwaukee's Best or Schlitz or Blatz or come on, what else we got? Keystone Light.
Keystone Light. Nay to the Fosters. I played a show in Foster's and Blue Ribbon Pabst were the free beers, and I basically drank the Foster's the whole night because the can's mammoth when I was still drinking, and that's really the only time in my life I've had Foster's as a conscious decision. Beyond that, I've never had it and would probably not go for it again. No one drinks that.
Yeah,
I imagine
that makes sense. Yeah. Like I wonder what beer is associated with America overwhelmingly? Probably Bud or Coors, right?
Budweiser, Coors Light.
Me puppet. Give us some insight.
Bud Light.
It's funny. I was listing off notoriously known like shit beers, but I remember having Blatz Tall Boys in Madison, and I'm like, I've never given Blatz a true chance. This is not bad. I kind of like Blatz. Back when I was drinking beer.
I don't know if I've ever had that.
It's basically PBR. At one time, it was Blatz and Schlitz and PBR. They were all made the same. It was like the same. I don't know what was the real differentiating factor about them, but
yeah, there's what is the other one? Steel Reserve. It was kind of around that era. Not my jam. Not big on malt liquors. I will. Well, I say will. In the past, I did drink them and would drink them. Not in my world these days.
Yeah, I don't really. I pretty much stick to the plant-based substances and wine.
Yeah. I don't drink that much in general. I usually feel like shit. This is a discussion we've had a few times.
Yeah, that's why I switched to wine, because I can still kind of feel like I'm being socially part of the world. And Duff
is it? I guess that's a beer because of The Simpsons. But yeah, Bud,
very American.
Bud is the most common, I would imagine. Bud and Bud Light.
Yep.
I don't know. When you got the Miller stuff, I don't know. I actually like, of the cheap beers, Miller High Life. This is not what this show is about, but
no, not at all. My bad.
What's the no, this is the fourth or fifth derail. It's been my fault, so it's fine.
We should just have a show called Derailed.
It's not a bad idea.
I know, I'm full of good ideas. Maybe we should end this and then we can just talk about random bullshit not on the stream.
Probably a good call. I also have to pee, so it'll give me a chance to do that.
All right, so let's
doing it on camera, not the best idea.
Yeah, if you could take the whole setup with you. Just cables and shit knocking over.
Take the monitor.
Guys, so yeah, I know Bandless has been kind of sporadic lately, so appreciate your pay. There's 2 of you here. Whatever. 13
Eight
flaws,
Puppet,
me
13
Puppet.
flaws. Thank you
guys are
for hanging
dope.
out.
You're always here. You always hang out. Genuinely appreciate you guys. Yeah, we'll somebody will be here next week. Who? I'm not sure. I might be in Boston. Who knows?
One
getting
of
busy.
the 4 people that are on here. Well,
Yes, we love you guys.
all right.